Welcome to Stuff They Didn't Teach Me in Sunday School. Did you ever make a vow or a promise that was going to be tough to keep? You might remember the story of Martin Luther, who, as he was walking along one evening, got caught in the middle of a thunderstorm, thunder and lightning crashing around him. He feared for his life, and the story goes that he fell on his knees and said, "God, save me, and save me, and I'll become a monk." He prayed to a saint, "Save me, and I'll become a monk." God did save him. He did become a monk. There's the next story in the book of Judges is a story of a rash vow made by one of the judges by the name of Jephthah. We're back in that cycle again in Judges where God has delivered his people. They live in peace for a while, but they forget who their God is. They chase after other gods, specifically the Baals, the fertility cults. And as they do, God brings an oppressor in. This time the oppressing nation is the Ammonites. The Ammonites come up against Israel in Judges chapter 11, and God raises up Jephthah, a judge from the tribe of Gad, to deliver this people. God had called him to do it, and yet Jephthah makes a vow. The vow is bizarre. Jephthah says, if God enables me to deliver this nation from the Ammonites, I promise that the first thing that comes out of my house when I come back, I will sacrifice. I don't think you heard this lesson in Sunday school either, because you can probably guess or come close to guessing to what the first thing to come out of his house was when he returns from the defeat of the Ammonites. When he comes home, his daughter comes out to greet him. And the vow that Jephthah has made is to sacrifice the first thing out of his house. Number one, I don't think the vow was God-pleasing. God doesn't ask for that vow. He doesn't expect that vow. And it's a rash vow. And number two, I doubt God expected Jephthah to fulfill on that vow when it was his daughter that came out of the house. Chapter 11, verse 35, when he saw her, he rent his clothes and said, "Alas, my daughter, you've brought me very low, and you've become the cause of great trouble for me. For I have opened my mouth to Yahweh, and I could not take my vow back." And she said to him, "My father, if you've opened your mouth to Yahweh, do to me according to what has gone forth from your mouth, now that Yahweh has avenged you on your enemies, the Ammonites." And she said to her father, "Let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go and wander in the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my companions." And he said, "Go." Some scholars think that the implication of this vow is merely that what Jephthah did was sacrifice his daughter, in effect, to a life of celibacy. I think that probably is an attempt to temper the radical nature of this vow and its fulfillment. I suspect that what Jephthah did was sacrifice his daughter. I doubt that was God-pleasing. In fact, I'm confident it was not. And yet, I believe that's what happened in the story. I think the story illustrates probably one more time the disarray in which this nation was, how far at times they could get away from God, and how even people that God had chosen to do his work, Jephthah in this case, could still stray from what God had in mind for his people. Still happens today, and that's why they and we have a Savior in Jesus Christ.